I am finally getting round to recording this video on a topic that I have never discussed on this channel. And I'm finally giving the details, dishing the dirt, and hopefully helping you guys on an area that I know so many of you have got confused about and have asked questions about many times. So let's jump into this week's topic. But before we do, guys, let me introduce myself if you're new here. I'm Lauren, wedding planner, owner of Bluebird Creative and Bride Academy, and I provide a weekly dose of wedding planning goodness for the modern couple, as well as digital downloads. Now, guys, if you haven't already, I dare you to subscribe to this channel, and then you'll be notified every week when a new video lands. Now let's hop into this week's topic. We are going to be discussing the legal process of getting married, what you actually need to do from 12 months out up until the actual ceremony itself, all the legal steps that you need to take. We have been asked these questions so many times, and finally I am doing this video for you to hopefully just clarify and make it feel a little less overwhelming so that you know the steps and the process. So let's hop into this week's video. Okay guys, so when you start the process of planning your legal ceremony, there is something that you need to do. Now, just to clarify, this video, I am going to base it around a civil ceremony. This is not to do with a church wedding. This is just a civil ceremony, whether you are getting married at a registry office or at a venue that has a license for a civil ceremony. Just to clarify, if you are having a celebrant-led wedding in the UK, that is not a legal ceremony yet. It is in Scotland, so you will still have to do a legal ceremony at a registry office, for example, or however you want to do it, but you'll still need to do a civil ceremony to be legally married, and then you can do your celebrant-led ceremony. I hope that makes sense. So let's go through the civil process of becoming legally married. So you have to start off with giving notice. Now, you can't give notice until 12 months before your wedding date. So you need to book your venue first, ideally, and get your date. That is the first process. Book your venue, get the date. Now, when you're looking for your venue, you want to make sure that you can legally get married there. If you can't legally get married there, then you'll need to look into having a celebrant-led wedding and doing a separate registry office civil ceremony, which is absolutely fine, but obviously you just can't legally get married on site at that venue. Whichever you decide to go for, it's not a problem at all. Just bear those in mind. They obviously have slightly different steps, but essentially you still have to give notice. So if you choose a venue where you can legally get married, you can give notice from 12 months out. So if you booked your venue 2 years before your wedding, you can't give notice until 12 months out. And that's because when you receive your notice of marriage, it's only valid for 12 months. So you can't give notice until 12 months out. When you do that, you need to call the registry office in the district that you currently live and have been living in for the past 7 days. Now, if you and your partner live in different districts, then you need to give notice at the different registry offices. So the registry offices that are located where you're both living. If you're living in the same house, then obviously you give notice at the same registry office. I hope you're with me. And you can do that from 12 months out, but it must be before 28 days before the wedding. I highly recommend you do this right at the beginning of your planning journey, once you've booked your venue, as long as it's within those 12 months. So to give notice, you need to ring up the registry office and then they will book you in an appointment. When you go to the appointment, you need to take your passport, your driver's license, birth certificate, that kind of thing, as well as your billing address. You'll need to take all of that as proof of identity. Just worth checking with them when you're booking the appointment how much it's going to cost. Every district is slightly different, so I'm not going to give you a number, but definitely worth asking them at that point just so that you know. When you get to your meeting, they're going to check your identity. They're going to get you to do a statutory declaration. So that's when they check if you have any legal impediments as to why you can't marry. Basically just ask you a load of questions and hopefully everything will be fine. And then within 28 days, if they're happy, then you will be sent your notice of marriage, which is valid for 12 months. So that is step one, guys, giving notice. The next step is booking your registrar. So you need to book your registrar in the district of the venue that you're getting married in. Now you want to ring them up, and again, you can't do this until 12 months beforehand, and you want to book the registrar for your wedding day. Now they Just to clarify, you cannot choose who your registrar is, but you can try and choose the time that you get married. You won't always have complete open options to all timings of the day. Typically they start at 12 o'clock-ish, but essentially you have a registrar that has quite a few ceremonies that they're running on one day, and you will be given a time slot. You can request a time slot. Hopefully that time slot is available. 2 o'clock typically is a nice time. 1:30 also good, personal favourites. But you can choose whatever they have available, and obviously the earlier that you ring them up, the more likelihood there is of them having availability at the time that you want. So if you've booked a venue and you've got in your mind that you want a 2 o'clock ceremony, don't leave it. Don't leave it too late, because you might end up with finding out that there's only a 4 p.m. ceremony available, or a 12 p.m. and that doesn't fit with you, or whatever it might be. So ring them up and book in with the registrar. The next part of the legal process is the marriage schedule. Now typically the registrars will deal with this. They will bring the marriage schedule to the ceremony. You will sign the marriage schedule. You will need 2 witnesses to also sign the marriage schedule. So make sure you've picked 2 witnesses for your ceremony, and then typically they will take it away with them and file it, and then you should be sent your marriage certificate within 7 days of it being filed. That's the typical process. It varies from district to district, but it just gives you a really good overview of kind of what you could expect. And that is very simply the process of getting legally married. Now you should be sent some information from your registrar once you've registered for your ceremony. They should send you some information of how you want the ceremony to run, what you want included, the legal wording. You can choose typically a couple of options that they've got. You can send them over what readings you want. There's a little bit of flexibility, but at the end of the day, it's a legal ceremony. There's a lot of legal language, and there's a particular structure to how they do the ceremony, but you can input some personal sections to make it a little bit more bespoke and tailor it to you guys as a couple. Something to bear in mind as well is just making sure that you ask if there's any rules, restrictions, or just checking the website for the district that you're getting married in. Every district is different. For example, in Wiltshire, you cannot have a live flame during a ceremony, even if it's outside. For example, in Wales, you have to have your meeting with the registrar prior to the ceremony separately, whereas in a lot of counties in the UK, you can go in together now if you want to. For example, if a couple has done a first look, they might decide that they're quite happy going in and doing their meeting with the registrar before the ceremony together, because they've already seen each other. If a couple hasn't done a first look and they're going to see each other for the first time whilst they're walking down the aisle, typically they'll choose to do their meeting separately because they don't want to see each other and they want to keep it a surprise. So it's totally dependent on the district and kind of the rules and regs. So definitely investigate those, check the websites. They'll be slightly different in each location. I hope you found this video helpful, guys. I will be back next week with some more wedding planning goodness. Until then, have a great week.